To begin your tertiary color wheel, you're going to need a piece of 12 by 16 inch paper. And what we're going to do is equally divide the paper into 4-inch squares. So, with your paper in the horizontal orientation, take a ruler and match up the edge of the ruler at 0 with the left side of the paper, and then make marks every 4 inches. You should make 3 marks. Scoot your ruler down and repeat this process, matching up the edge of your ruler at 0 to the left side of the paper and marking every 4 inches. Then scooch down a little bit more and repeat the process one more time. This will create a series of 3 dots that we can align our ruler to create a perfectly vertical line that's not tilted one way or the other. And once you're ready to go, do align your ruler vertically along those 3 dots and draw yourself 3 lines. These lines should be 4 inches apart from each other, and split up your paper into 4 equal strips, if you will. To finish your 4x4 squares, you're going to rotate your paper so it's now in the vertical orientation. You're going to now line up the 0 of your ruler to the left side of your paper, and you're going to measure out, once again, 4 inches. But this time, since this edge of the paper is only 12 inches long, you're only going to create 2 dots per measurement. Again, we're going to repeat the process by scooching our ruler down a little bit each time, creating 3 dots that we can line up our ruler to ensure verticality. So here I go, connecting the 3 measurement dots that I created every 4 inches along the edge. And I'm going to draw my vertical lines, completing my grid of 4-inch by 4-inch squares. There's the perfect number of squares on this paper now to paint on the 3 primary colors, the 3 secondary colors, and the last 6 tertiary colors that we're going to learn about and mix right now. Just to quickly review, like I said, there are 3 primary colors. They are red, yellow, and blue. And these 3 pigments are what, in different combinations, create all other pigments in painting. So I'm going to go ahead and pour my 3 primary colors into a paint palette out of these condiment bottles. Now the thing is here, you can always pour more paint, but you can't get the paint back into the bottle. So I ask that you please only fill up the paint palette wells halfway with these paints. And once you do have the paint poured, you are going to fill in the 3 squares all the way to the left of your paper when it's oriented horizontally with the 3 primary colors. And let's all do this exactly the same. So you're going to put down red into the top left square. Right below it, you're going to put yellow, and then below that on the bottom, you're going to paint in your blue square. This is a great opportunity, since it's such a simple shape that we're filling in, to practice your brush strokes and practice neat and tidy craftsmanship. I'd love it for these squares to be crisp and have crisp edges, a smooth texture. So watch out for how many times you're lifting up your paintbrush as you paint. Each time you put down and pick up your paintbrush, it actually creates brush strokes and texture. Try to use slow, smooth brush strokes to create a smooth texture. And additionally, watch out for how much water is on your brush, because we want these colors to be opaque, not see-through. We'll be using what we're painting right now to create a tertiary color wheel. We're going to be starting on the top of the color wheel with red, and we'll move our way around clockwise to get all the way around the color wheel to red purple. So that means that the next color in line is the tertiary color called orange red. Tertiary means third, and tertiary colors are one step in between a primary color and a secondary color. So right next to our red square, we're going to mix orange red, the halfway point between orange and red. So let's mix red, a primary color, into another primary color of yellow, and it's going to start turning the color orange. Notice I added the red to the yellow. I did not add the yellow to the red. The reason is I can way more efficiently adjust the yellow with the more powerful red than the other way around. If you tried to put the yellow lighter paint into the darker red paint, it would take a lot more paint to change the red. And that rule goes every single time you're mixing any two colors together. You want to take the darker paint and put it into the lighter paint. Then mix fully. So you are going to continue adding red paint to the yellow paint until you've surpassed orange and it's more red than orange, but it's not straight red. I think I have a really good tertiary orange-red going on right now. It's not fully red, it's not fully orange, it's orange-red. I'm going to paint my orange-red right next to red because I'm working my way clockwise around the tertiary color wheel. We just mixed our first tertiary color, and next up in the circle comes the secondary color, straight up orange. Remember, obviously, to make orange, you add red to the yellow paint. You don't want it to be too yellow. You don't want it to be too red. You want it to be right in the middle, orange. Once you've got the right color, you're going to paint the square right next to orange-red fully and opaquely with smooth brush strokes. Up next in the tertiary color wheel is a tertiary color called yellow-orange. It's one step between orange and the next primary color of yellow. So you're still going to be using yellow and red. It's just that you're going to mix it to be more yellow than orange, but not fully yellow. Yellow-orange. Remember to put the darker color into the lighter color. That would be red into yellow, or I actually used a little bit of my orange red and mixed it into yellow, but I don't try to change those darker colors with the lighter ones. It doesn't work. Once I've got my yellow-orange ready to go, I'm gonna pop it right next to orange. Alright, we've completed all of the secondary and tertiary colors that come between red and yellow on the color wheel. Now we're going to hit the segment that comes in between yellow and blue. And we are going to start off with the tertiary color of yellow-green. To make yellow-green, you'll need yellow and blue. And you're going to add the blue into the yellow, being the darker color and everything. And you are going to try to achieve a color that is not fully yellow and it's not fully green. It's one step in between yellow-green. You're going to paint the square directly next to yellow with the color you achieve. Next up, we've got a secondary color going on, green. Should be true green this time, not too yellow, not too blue, right in between. So, back to yellow and blue, mixing the two together, always remembering to add the blue into the yellow, not the other way around. Once you've got your color, of course, you're going to fill in the very next square next to yellow-green. As you can see here, right next to green is blue-green, another tertiary color. I think you're getting the hang of this, but blue-green means that it's not going to be green and it's not going to be blue. It's going to be right in between there. Blue-green, a turquoise color, and to make it, you're going to add blue into green. You could also start from scratch. You could start putting blue into yellow until it surpasses green and becomes blue-green. Once you've got it, you're going to apply that paint next to true green. The last segment of the color wheel comes between the two primary colors, blue and red. We got to mix up blue-purple, purple, and finally red-purple. If you've ever wondered the difference between purple and violet, there is no difference in the color. It's just based upon where you live as to what you call it. Most of the time, American people call the color purple, and most of the time, people who live in the UK or England call it violet. So it's your choice. You can call this next color I'm making blue purple or blue violet. The point is that it's a tertiary color that comes in between blue and purple. And then our next square will be filled with true purple. We'll add more red to the mix to get it right between blue and red. And then our final square will be red purple or red violet. It'll be more red than true purple, but it won't be all the way red. After you have viewed the safety video for X-Acto knife use and you have completed the practice worksheet, you're ready to use your newfound X-Acto knife skills and cut yourself out a little stencil. You are going to draw a shape that fills the 4 by 4 inch square nicely. And once you're done drawing a shape, you are going to use your X-Acto knife to cut around the outer edge of that shape. I recommend just drawing a silhouette or an outer outline of whatever object you're trying to draw, because then it'll show more of your paint once you cut it out of your painted paper. But you are welcome to cut out some more negative space out of the center of your stencil. Like, for example, I could cut out some cat eyes from the center, but I decided in the end to leave it a silhouette or an outline with no details inside. So now I've got my final shape drawn out, and I'm gonna cut around the outer edge of this cat face with whiskers to create myself a little stencil. I'm going to remember all of my X-Acto safety tips. One of the most important being cutting on a self-healing mat, keeping my fingers out of the way, and using my pointer finger to add pressure to make clean cuts. Once you've got your stencil cut out successfully, you're going to trace it 12 times. You're going to find a light source, either a window in the art room or this fancy tracing box. You're gonna take your painted paper and you're gonna face plant it onto the light source. This way we can see where our squares are and we can draw our stencil tracing on the back of the paper. This is so that if and when you make mistakes when drawing with a pencil, you can erase it without messing up your paint. Once you've got all your shapes traced on each of the 12 tertiary colors, it's time to use your X-Acto safety skills to cut each and every one of them out of your larger painting. Make sure to keep the scraps because we will be using them for the final step of this project. All right, all of my cat faces are cut out from each of the 12 colors in the tertiary color wheel. They're now ready to be assembled and glued onto a black background to create the final product, which is a tertiary color wheel. Everyone's going to receive a very large piece of black paper in a square that's 16 by 16 inches. Depending on the size of the shapes that you cut out from your painting, this could be too large, but it won't be too small. So if it's too large, you're just going to assemble your pieces in a smaller circle, glue them down, and we will trim the big paper to size. But for now, what we need to do is draw a guiding circle so that we can arrange our cutouts nicely. What we need to do first is find the center of our 16 by 16 inch paper. And to do that, you're going to measure, much like we did at the beginning, halfway across the paper. So this is 16 inches wide. We're gonna make a measurement at 8 inches, scooch the ruler down, measure once again, scooch it down for a third measurement, and then align the 3 dots with our ruler to create a perfectly straight line. Let's create the other crosshair that will tell us exactly where the center of this paper is. So rotate your paper and do the same measurement, just in the other direction. Align the left side of your ruler at 0 on the edge of the paper. Mark 8 3 times by scooching your ruler down a bit each time. Align those 3 dots with your ruler and draw your crosshair line. Where your 2 lines intersect should be the dead center of your 16 by 16 inch square, and that is where we're going to put one side of our compass. So let's get the compass set up. What you're going to want to do is loosen the bolt lefty-loosey in the center of your compass tool, and you will want to insert a pencil into the opposite side of the pointy tool. You can use a mechanical pencil, but ideally you should use a regular pencil because it doesn't have the little handle on it. And then tighten the bolt just enough so that the pencil stays secure, but you can still move the compass, opening it to make a wider, larger circle with a larger radius, or closing in the pencil towards the pointy tool to make a smaller circle. Before you decide how large or small your circle should be, you should definitely lay out your cutouts in a circular formation to kind of estimate the size. I had already done that but forgot to record it, and I know that I need to make my circle as large as I possibly can, almost hitting the edges of this square in order for my kitty faces to fit. So now that I have my compass all set up at the largest circle that it could possibly make, I'm going to set the pointy side of the tool in the center crosshairs on the paper, and I'm going to hold it in place as I rotate the pencil around it, creating a perfect circle. Using this circle as your guide, you're now going to lay out your cutouts in tertiary order, making sure that they all fit before you glue them. Again, PSA, public service announcement. Lay down everything first and then pick up each color and glue them down one by one. Don't try to guess and glue them down as you go, because you'll probably wind up with a problem. You'll either not make it all the way around the circle, or you'll accidentally put them out of order. And the thing is, these are one-of-a-kind paintings. They took a lot of work to cut out, and so we don't want to ruin them at this point in the game by gluing them in the wrong place. As you can see, I'm flipping over each shape. I'm using liquid school glue on the back side, trying to get all the edges and corners of my shape before I flip it over and press it onto the paper. Now there's one more thing to be done before this tertiary color wheel is done, and that is to use those scraps that I mentioned before. So if you've taken mixed media, which technically you should have, you learned a lot about the complementary colors. But if you don't remember, or you missed mixed media, the complementary colors are colors that are directly opposite of each other on the color wheel. They're the furthest apart from each other that they could possibly be. What we have in our tertiary color wheel is a bunch of complementary colors as well. We've got red and green, we've got red, violet, and yellow, green, then purple and yellow, then blue, violet, and yellow, orange, and so on. Each of these tertiary colors has an opposite, a complementary color. And what you're going to do is cut out the scraps of paper into any shape you'd like and glue on the complementary shape onto its complement. For example, I cut out a green heart and I glued it onto my red cat's face. Those two are opposites, and you can see how vibrant they make each other. Down here, we've got the green cat, and the green cat gets its opposite heart, which is red. Next, I'm going to do red, orange, and blue, green. As you can see, they're directly across from each other on the color wheel, so they'll get little hearts on them in their opposite colors. So I'm going to continue using my scraps to cut out and paste on the complementary colors to each other. And while I do, I just want to let you know why it's important to know about the complementary colors. Here's why. When you put complementary colors side by side in a composition, the light waves emulated by each actually reverberate off of each other, creating a very vibrant contrast. If you take opposite colors like red and green and you mix them together, you don't lay them side by side, but you mix them together, they have a tendency to dull each other and create a brown mixture. So it's important to know what these colors do when you use them side by side and also when you mix them. After you're done gluing all of the complementary shapes onto your tertiary color wheel, you are done with it. Great job.